You're in the kitchen.
All right, we are back for another kitchen conversation. This week we have the hottest name on the tour of pickleball, Parris Todd, joining us. She is in fuego right now. She has won 5 tournaments in a row. She is crushing it across APP, PPA, and MLP, holding titles in all of them. There's no one hotter. And before we get going and bring her on, I want to talk about who makes this possible, which is Wisdom Essentials, the best CBD products you can get. Go to wisdomessentials.com to check it out. They have the Soothe Stick, which Jared and I both swear by. I really, honestly, I wouldn't be able to move in the mornings if I didn't rub my Soothe Stick on my lower back and knees. So thank you to Wisdom Essentials. Let's get Parris Todd in the kitchen. There she is.
Guys. Wow, I love that intro. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'll take that.
Yeah, well, it's facts.
Hottest name on tour.
I want you to introduce me on court. Parris Todd, hottest player out there, hottest player on tour. I love it.
That's right. That's right. Parris, you know, you've come bursting onto the scenes of pickleball, taking everybody by surprise. Where did you come from? What have you been doing? Why? How did this happen?
Came from nowhere. I mean, I was playing tennis at Newport Beach at TTC, and I saw pickleball, and there was a pickleball tournament going on. And, you know, at first tennis players are kind of like, what is that? It's kind of a joke, trying to figure out like, okay, what is it? It's a wiffle ball. It's a paddle. And I actually started playing it, and some of my friends were playing, and I just had such a great time. And I was like, okay, actually, I'm not too bad at this. You know, at first for tennis players, it's like, they think it's so easy, but it's really not. So it took me a little bit of time, and I had no intentions of playing tournaments or being competitive with it. And it just all kind of made sense after a few months. And I was like, why don't I just do this and give it a shot and see where it goes? So now I guess here I am.
All right, so let's rewind this a little bit. You mentioned that you were a tennis player. You're a serious tennis player. Let's go way back, right? You're 5 years old. You get into tennis. At the age of 8, if I understand correctly, you go down to Bollettieri. Is that right, in Florida?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I actually, for my 5th birthday, I asked for a tennis racket for my parents, and neither of my parents had ever played. So they were kind of like, a tennis racket, what? So
why did you ask for a tennis racket? Did you see it on TV? Did you see someone playing? What was the inspiration?
I can't even remember what I did last week. How do you think I'll remember what I did when I was 5 years old?
You don't even know the pickleball rules.
It was just meant to be. It was just the Lord. I don't know. So
nice. Okay, so you go down. So you were where? This is when you're 5 years old. You're living in California.
Yes, I was living in California at the time. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so do you make the move to Bollettieri permanently? Do you go to Florida?
No. So what we did was I started playing from 5 to 8, and just in clinics, and got a few lessons, and just kind of played for fun. Had no intentions of really doing anything with it. And then my parents started to say, oh, you know what? She's good at this. She likes it. Let's figure out what are the best places to take a kid for tennis to really like develop them and see if she's into it, and actually get her into some real training to see if she'll be serious about it. So they were doing research, and they found Bollettieri Academy in Florida. And we went over there for a few weeks at the time and tried it. And I was absolutely addicted to it. And I think at the time the schedule was like 4 to 6 hours a day that they would put us on court. And after the whole training day was done, I would ask my dad, hey, Dad, I want to go back on the court. Will you go feed me balls? And I'm 8 years old. So they were like, okay, like this is it. Like this is what she loves. So that's kind of how it all started with tennis.
Wow. That sounds like really great parents you have.
They're not bad. Not bad at all.
Pretty good. That's pretty good. If my kids asked me that, I might be like, go do your homework. But that's pretty awesome. So you take it very seriously. Something from within just drove you to the sport. And then you had immediate success, or I should say immediate success, but you won just at every level and then turned pro at 14. Is that right?
Yeah. So I played all of the junior nationals, on the junior sanctioned tournaments, USTA growing up. And I was number 1 in the 10s and 12s in the nation. And then I started to play, some women's open tournaments and a few ITFs here and there, and I was doing really well at them. So me and my family made a decision, hey, let's give this a shot and let's go professional at an early age. And I started playing, the challengers and doing that. And I did that for about 4 years on and off. And it was difficult for me being 14 and turning pro, because you compete against, at the challenger level, there's girls anywhere from 20 to 35 years old, and people are doing this for a living to eat at the end of the day, because if you don't win, you don't eat. And at that level, there's not that much money yet, and people don't understand that. So it really takes time to get past that level and actually get on TV where everyone's like, oh, like, you're a professional tennis player, that's what you do, like, that's so flashy, that's amazing. It's like you have to go through all of the grunt work and all of the bad accommodations, I'll say, to get to that point of like the limelight. So
and explain the challenger part of it. Does this attach to the WTA, or is this different tournament tours?
It is a part of the WTA. So at the time I was playing, I don't think they have these tournaments anymore, but they start at 10,000s, they went 15,000s, 25,000s, and so on. It would go up. So now I think they only start at 25,000s, but think, the tournaments, the whole pot is only $10,000. You're going across the country. I mean, most of the stuff is all international. So I was in different countries. I was in Egypt, I was in Mexico, I was in Colombia, I was in pretty much everywhere you can think of. That isn't amazing.
Years old, at 14 years old.
Yeah, between the ages of like 14 and 18. And some of the times I would just go with another player. My parents wouldn't even go with me. So because, my parents ran their business and they have full-time jobs and they have other things they have to focus on. So it was a lot of adapting for me at a young age. But also when you're 14 years old and you're in the middle of nowhere playing a tennis tournament, you see your friends back home doing things, having fun, living a normal life. And you think, oh, like, you get FOMO in a sense. And you're like, what am I missing out on? But now looking back, the experience and getting to do what I got to do, not many people can say that they've, lived the life and got to travel like I did. So I'm just very blessed now looking back, and I had to mature from an early age and really grow up really fast to fend for myself traveling internationally. So it was a lot, but here I am now. So
all right, so 14 to 18, you're playing kind of professional tennis. You're having pretty good success, right? You're maybe not breaking through at the top levels of the WTA, but you're winning. You have 85 titles to your name, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all through juniors, I have exactly about 85. You did your research. I like it.
I did. Wait, so let me ask you this also. You were number 1 in the country at like the 10 to 12 age group. Would you consider yourself a prodigy?
I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a prodigy, but for the wins that I had and where I was at the time, I guess you could say that. Yeah. So sure, a prodigy. I'll take that.
Oh yeah. Because we asked Ryan Sherry this question, and he was like, "I'm not a prodigy."
Oh yeah.
Very defensive
about.
He'll
give you a lot of different answers.
Not in tennis, he wasn't a prodigy. Other things.
Yeah, he's a prodigy in a lot of things, actually, but not tennis.
I think he bought a few ATP points, but we won't talk about that.
Interesting.
There's still litigation going on about that. We won't talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah, he's still going to court over that. No, I'm kidding.
So you're 18 years old. You're a professional tennis player, and all of a sudden, I tell me how this unfolds. But you start a brand called Wasted that gets picked up into Macy's and becomes one of their best brands. How does that happen?
So I actually started the brand Wasted USA when I was about 16. So I was in my room one day and I had this idea. At the time, there was a really big trend for women. It was you would wear a flannel around your waist, and you would wear it with jeans and a top, and it was really cute and it was really trendy. So I tried to take that idea and I was like, okay, how can I make this better? So when you are wearing a flannel shirt around your waist, there's a collar on the shirt, right? So when you tie that around your waist, there's like a bulkiness around the back of your like butt area. So I was like, okay. So I had an idea to just do a waist wrap. So that's how I got the name Wasted, was from the waist wrap that I created. So from taking that waist wrap, it took, a year, 2 years to develop it and get the samples done and really figure out, okay, what are the designs that I want to do with this? So once I had that, I got really interested in streetwear, and I loved the whole urban scene and just fashion in general. So I grew up with someone that they had a factory overseas in China, and I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, we can, do some samples for you, see how it goes. I was like, okay, awesome. So I got some samples back. I think this was when I turned 18 when this happened. And it was like 3 months into actually starting the company and, really getting into it. And I was doing photo shoots and I had a lot of model friends at the time, so they were helping me with doing that. And I set up my website. And about 3 months into doing all of that, I had Macy's contact me on my website, and they were like, "Hi, we're launching a streetwear department within Macy's, and we'd love for you to come and meet with us." So originally I was like, okay, we've been in business technically for about 3 months now, and Macy's had contacted me like, "Is this real? Like, am I dreaming?" Like, I had to like pinch myself. So I was like, someone's probably just messing with me, right? So I get her information, set up a call with her and her team, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real. So a few months later, we go meet with them in their New York offices. Me and my mom fly there. She's my partner in the company, and we start selling to them. And a few months later, after we get our product in their stores, we're one of the top selling on their floor. So that's kind of how that all started and evolved.
So you're not very driven. You're kind of
not at all. Yeah, no, not an entrepreneur or nothing.
I think at 16, I was like playing Legend of Zelda in my room, not starting.
No, yeah. I mean, to each his own, right?
Yeah, but like it sounds very easy, but one thing I've heard about you is your work ethic, and that you have a training regimen that is pretty much second to none, that you spend a lot of time on the court, and that none of this is a fluke. This is all hard work and preparation. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I think anything that you want to be successful in, you have to give your 100% at, and you have to put in the time to get there. And at the end of the day, it all pays off. So it's all worth it. So
when you told that story about first hearing about pickleball and picking up a paddle, was this coinciding with COVID, or when was this?
No, so this was about 8 months ago. So I want to say, where are we in now? June? So yeah, around like last September, kind of October area. That's
what level did you see? Do you think you came in at when your first kind of couple of games? 4-0?
So it's funny because I talk about this sometimes with people and I joke about it. So I started playing at, I think my first tournament was a 5-0. It was a local Newport tournament. And I think I only won one match in doubles, and we got absolutely creamed, me and my partner at the time. And we were like, should we go down in level? Like, what should we do? And then I had one of the coaches at Newport. He was like, oh, you should play 3-5. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't think it was that bad, but okay. So, and I think the next tournament I did was like a 4-5 or a 4-0. And then ended up, I can't remember if I got second and I was like, okay, like I should probably like, move up and do 5-0s and see how that goes. It seemed like it was the appropriate level at the time.
So your first match when we played at MLP and you were holding your beer, were you better?
Yeah, do you want to talk about that, Jared?
I have to bring it up. I'm very self-deprecating. Were you better or worse than me that day in your first time playing?
What would you consider yourself? Self-rated? 3-0?
Just stop. I'm a 4-3 duper plug. 4-3. I played
based off of what?
Tournament results. I played so much better after that game. I think you were holding the beer. I didn't think you were taking it seriously, so I just kind of punted.
Did you pick someone to let you get some points for your duper, or how'd that go down?
Matt Manassi and I beat Wyatt and Hayden, actually. So I want another opportunity to prove myself.
Okay. In a tournament, you guys beat Wyatt and Hayden.
No, we were just playing rec. But we'll move on from there.
Okay.
But I figured you were going to bring
impress me. Yes. Oh my goodness! I'm sure that Wyatt and Hayden were not trying very hard.
So moving on, you played those matches, and then how did you get connected with Ryan Sherry?
I met Ryan Sherry at my first pro tournament that I played in. It was the Foot Solutions in Arizona. I think it was maybe January or February. And he was sitting on a cooler. And it's funny because I don't usually remember things like this. And I was like, hey, can I get underneath you? And he's like, what? Who are you? What's your name? And I was like, oh, God, what did I just do? Like, what did I just start? So that's fun. Oh, no.
Oh, hey.
The devil himself.
Devil himself. Finish the story.
Yeah, finish the story. It's a good story.
So, yeah, I asked to get underneath him, and he let me. So that's that. Here we are now.
All right.
Life is good for Ryan Sherry. Welcome.
How would you interpret that, Ryan? What was your experience?
No, it's the truth. I mean, at the end of the day, until you get to know Parris, of course, you can't judge a book by its cover. It's a pretty good looking cover, but the pages are good too. It's a good read. Like the girl's a lot more than just looks and playing on the court. She's sophisticated entrepreneur, a really good friend, and not just for me. We've kind of collectively developed a good group of people, and I think anybody that has gotten in her life or vice versa, she's gotten in their life, has been really happy with the friendship we've all kind of built. So,
and truth be told, I mean, you owe Parris your championship from Charlotte, right? I mean, you were essentially on a alcohol binge in Vegas, and she extracted you from the situation and dried you out.
Yeah,
Fingers.
I think me and Ryan were texting, and he's like, "Oh, I'm out doing this," and like he invited me out to Vegas. I was like, "No, I have a tournament in a week. Like I gotta focus. I gotta get my stuff together." And he was like, "Okay, I like that." I was like, "Well, you should probably you're playing the same tournament I'm in, so you should probably start training and get ready for that." And he's like, "Oh, I'll be fine." I was like, "Okay, well, you got to start your model diet. You want to get in shape." And that's where the whole model diet thing kind of came into play, and all the jokes were made and stuff. But I got his butt to Newport and started working and got him back on track. So.
And he hasn't had a drink since.
Oh yeah.
You say dink or drink?
She was getting up to go do some Pilates at 5 a.m. as I was finishing the night, and I kind of just said, "Hey, let me get to Newport," and just got in the got in the limo, got to Newport.
What you're saying? Either you go to bed either 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. Isn't that your?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
No in between.
And Jared, don't feel bad because I got a bad loss to Parris too. I mean, me and this partner, we got killed by her and Cameron Irwin that day, and so much so that
does she rip on you every time you talk to her about it?
She did until I finally got a chance to play her in some singles.
Exactly. But, I need a redemption. I need my shot.
Yeah, but doubles is different, Ryan. We need to work out the drops and all that. It's a little
Parris, we'll probably invite you to a lunch game soon, and just know that I'm coming.
Are you going to be ready this time?
I am. You can't be holding your beer though, because it throws me off. So I'll be ready.
So I do remember that your excuse was you were wearing running shoes, not tennis. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm old.
All the people know your excuse.
Yes, and I'm older, and so if I'm wearing my Ultra Boost, it hurts my shins and my knees and stuff. So but then I put my tennis shoes on, and Sherry, you saw me. I was good, right? I was better. No?
Yeah. If you say so, honestly. I mean.
Oh my gosh! You just paid him to say that.
Yeah.
Well, Sherry, what else you got? Any other good stories about Parris? I agree with what you just said about can't judge a book by its cover. First time I met Parris was at Tuesday Night in America at Dreamland, and I was like, yeah, you told me how cool she was. I was like, yeah, she seems kind of cool. She's a little standoffish. And then we had that call, and I was like, I don't know. And then we met, and the more I get to know her, actually, I actually now think you're a really good human being, and very kind. For the most part, you're very kind. But Sherry, what else you got?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what you all talked about previously, but I think for her, it's amazing to have this second opportunity.
You bought your points for was it USTA?
ATP.
Well, I bought a pro ATP point.
Right.
No, but I mean, for her, it's just exciting because she's getting an opportunity, a second chance at, I don't want to say life, but a second chance at athleticism, and the sport's growing, and she's making an amazing name for herself, let alone, to be able to carry a brand. I mean, you see all these big time brands coming into play. On a business standpoint, she actually sees the long-term goal of the sport. She actually understands value. I mean, I love all these pickleball players to death. I love these kids, but a lot of them are kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they don't understand that for a real brand and a real company to put money into you, that they expect a return on their investment. And that's one thing I know Parris is juggling a lot of, opportunities right now, and different people trying to, brand with her. No different. I mean, Jared, how many phone calls and texts? I mean, I don't want to read how many texts you sent me. Hey, is Parris going to wear the logo? Is she going to wear the logo? Is she going to wear the logo? And
I think it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't even care if she wears a logo. And then she wore the logo. And now I feel like it's been a great partnership.
You said that, but you didn't need it. You didn't mean it. But
no, I want. Yeah, but to be honest, and he's frozen again. But Parris, the more I get to know you, the more I'm proud that you are wearing the logo, because not only are you a great player, but I think you're a really sound and solid person, and so I'm stoked that you are wearing it. Just I've told you that before, but I just want to say it publicly now.
Oh, thank you. I might, joke around with you a lot, but that's just part of my personality. So I got a heart somewhere in there.
For sure.
Planning too, Jared, for the logo. So
say that again.
She has a tattoo she's planning for the logo as well. So
oh yeah, it's gonna be.
I think that should be our lunch game bet. Actually, I'll get wasted tattooed on me, and
okay.
you get the kitchen tattooed on you when you lose.
Oh, I think I'll be fine, but I think it's a good spot for you.
Sherry, any final thoughts?
Honestly, I'm good. Like I said, appreciate y'all having me on. Appreciate everything you've done as a friend, Parris, everything you've done for the sport, and look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. And make sure my laundry is nice, clean, and folded.
I will, definitely will. He literally today he left the airport and he left 2 of his bags, and I think in one bag he probably had about 50 paddles. We took a look and we're like, okay, and the other bag is just a bunch of dirty laundry, so we're gonna have to wash and fold his laundry for him. But just another day with Harry, just great.
Strategic, leaving your bags behind to have your laundry done. I know that trick.
Yeah.
So,
smart guy.
I love you all.
Love you,
See you, Ryan. Thank you. Safe travels.
So Parris, I have a question. You where was it? Was it San Clemente, your singles title? No.
Yeah, which one? Yes, last week, San Clemente.
Okay, and that was the one versus Anna Leigh. I've been traveling so much. Yes, that was the one.
It's all a blur, but yeah, San Clemente was last week. Mm-hmm.
So Anna Leigh has been, I think she's kind of been the GOAT, right? Since she's come into the sport. And she's 15 years old. She's a total beast. And I think maybe she's lost a couple singles finals to Catherine. I'm not exactly sure, but I think you came into that match in most people's eyes as a pretty big underdog.
Mm-hmm. And I saw super predictions, and I think I had like under 10% to win.
Yeah, it was like 12. Yeah, it was right around that. And I actually talked to Kyle Yates before the match, and I was like, what do you think her chances are? He's like, I think she's got a good shot. And so, what was that like? That wasn't the first time you had played her, but that was the first time you played her for a gold medal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that like? And I'm just curious to know what was going through your head pre-game.
Mm-hmm.
What was the experience like? And it was somewhat controversial, and I'd love to hear about that as well.
Well, I have nothing but good things to say about Anna Leigh, and I think that for singles this year, I'm almost 100% sure that she's been undefeated in singles. She's won every single title that she's played. So first of all, that right there, just to be able to go out and continuously win and be undefeated, that speaks for itself. She's been, not only is she a good role model for kids, but she's also very marketable. And look what her and her mom have been able to do in brand. And it's absolutely amazing. I really look up to it. And I know that there's a lot of kids that look up to her, and she's done awesome things for the sport. And she's a really great player. I don't know her, off the court yet. We haven't really had a chance to get to know one another, but I think going into a match like that, for most people, I was talking to some of the other women players before I played the match, and they were asking me too. They're like, where is your head at with her? They're asking me, do you think you can beat her? All of these things, because she's been unbeatable all year. And my answer is always, if you don't think that you're the best in your sport, what are you doing? Like, why don't you think that you're the best? If you don't think that you can beat everyone that you step on the court with, then you shouldn't be on the court. So that's where my head was at. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're so new to the sport. How does that, make you feel with, not having that much experience? And I was like, I've had over 15 years of tennis experience, and I have been through the toughest of moments, the easiest of moments through my whole career, not only in sports, but also in business. And nothing is easy, no matter what you do. So it just depends on what you choose to do and focus in on it. And you have your ups, you have your downs. It depends on how you get through them and how you carry yourself at the end of the day. So
I was talking to another high-level pro about that win and what we both kind of saw for your future in the sport. And we kind of alluded to that mindset, and just the attitude that you have. And I think so many people have struggled to beat Anna Leigh and struggled to beat Ben because they step out on the court and they think they can't win. And I applaud you for having that mindset. I think it's I certainly don't have that.
Certainly not.
Yeah, and so I'd love to figure out how to tap into that. But I don't even think it's really, I don't know. I think it's amazing. I think that is going to allow you to continue to beat or to be the best. And then at the end of that match, there was an interesting moment. Anna Leigh, from what I understand, she challenged the paddle that you were playing with, which was a Yola Ben Johns Hyperion paddle, right?
Yes.
How did that all shake out?
And before we go into that, it is perfectly within her right to challenge that, right? Like this is the new ruling now, is that if people have issues, if they think that one might be overly gritty or illegal in some way, there is a process, and that is part of the process is to challenge the paddle. And if it comes back that it passes, she will now have to pay I believe it's a $250 fine. And each time you challenge, it goes up from there. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, to my knowledge, it's a $200 fine if you test the paddle or test your opponent's paddle and you are wrong. But I believe that I also heard from Connor Pardo that if you do it 3 times and you lose all 3 times, then I don't know if you are you're banned for a little bit. You get some sort of like slap on the wrist. I'm not really sure what that whole thing looks like, but I know that there are consequences. I just don't know to what extent that those are.
Correct. That's right. And it goes up significantly. And we'll post what the actual rules are along with this. But yeah, I mean, it's so making that challenge, you probably should feel somewhat, validated in that. So a couple of things about that. One, how did that make you feel? It did end up passing, correct?
It did, yes. I still have the trophy to prove it.
And the other thing is okay, let's get into this. You're a Carbon player, right? And obviously when Carbon had their issues and players were not allowed to use Carbon, you switched to the Yola. I assume that's a temporary switch, but you're still continuing to play with the Yola at the moment. And you've had a pretty good run. So
let's go back to the other topic before we get into this one.
Okay.
So with the whole paddle situation, the whole paddle testing, with all the new rules that they have now, in my opinion, as a player, all of the associations, not just the PPA, they should test every player's paddle at the start of the tournament or before every match, because at the end of the day, it's not the player's fault if the paddle tests over, because it's the brands that give the paddles to us, or we buy the paddles, or whatever that may be. I think it needs to be fair at the start, because say you go and you beat someone with a legal paddle, the player probably doesn't know that it's illegal, and then all the blame gets put on them, and I don't think that's right. So
I agree. It's not like a performance enhancing drug, or it's not like you're stuffing up the paddle. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of players are getting the paddle off the shelf.
Well, and the funny thing is that the Yola that I was playing with in the final, I bought from a Pickleball Central tent. So it wasn't even given to me by Yola or anything like that. So, I mean,
I wonder what would have happened had the paddle not had it failed, and then because Anna Leigh's partner was also using the paddle, right?
Yeah, and it's Ben's paddle as well.
Yeah.
So, get into the whole thing. Well, should we test your partner's paddles, or how should we go about that? Yeah. So, it wasn't the best of experiences for me personally, but at the end of the day, if she had any doubt in her mind, I'm glad that it was confirmed, and it just shows, that I'm able to get away with the win with a legal paddle, and it, looks better on me at the end of the day. So. And
that your spin was that nasty.
I guess I just have a lot of topspin. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So
I would have challenged your ground strokes if that was legal. I think that was
challenged my shoes too. I mean,
yeah. No, you played great that day, and it was. I mean, I could understand her frustration because you were painting lines with power, And honestly, I don't think anyone's seen a female play like that other than probably Anna Leigh. So her facing that was,
But even still, it's a different style, right? Like I think you're going to reinvent the game, the singles game, and I think there's a lot of tennis players coming in, but it's going to be interesting.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing is, I'm not the only one that's going to come in and give people a run for their money, and people are going to come in and give me a run for the money, and it's better for the sport overall. The more people and the more players that get involved, especially that were a high level of tennis players and have a name, can come in and really help shape the sport and evolve the sport. I mean, I think that in itself is what it's going to all be about. And I also had a thought too of the whole grit being at I think it's 40, right? Is the max grit.
43 at PPA. 40 is the USAPA.
Right.
43 at PPA.
So my thought is, well, every sport over the years has evolved, right? Tennis evolved from it was a wood racket, and now it's made out of what it is, and the strings and the spin. The game is where it is now because of the technology that tennis has allowed in other sports to evolve. So why not pickleball? Why can't the grit go up? Why can't it be changed in that way? Why can't it evolve?
I've had this conversation with people at USA Pickleball and with PPA. And if you've ever played with someone who uses, and I'd say illegal, but there are paddles out there that are made to be quiet, that are rubberized. And if you ever play with someone who can hit a rubber top spin forehand, it's a different game completely. Like the ball is like a curveball. It just dives down, and it's a different, you can hit it as hard as you want and the ball will go in. So it completely changes the game because you can absolutely rip it, and you would just never dink a ball because you can rip things and keep them in, and it changes the game considerably.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about rubber paddles. We're talking about like let the grit go up to 45, and I don't know. I'm with you, Parris. I think that innovation is good for sports and for just sectors in general. And I don't know. I thought the spin serve to an extent is good.
When it's not a right.
Here's the things that equipment wise, right? Like, and I think golf went through this with V grooves and, just some of the technologies. When you can out hit the course, all of a sudden it's kind of detrimental to the game. And, college baseball with metal bats and things like that, where they've brought the game back to the way it was intended to be, because technology is so good that, if we allowed it to go a certain distance, it does change the game, and not for the better. But I do agree. I mean, it's the different style of game, but I think that at some point the essence of the sport needs to be protected, and not letting the technology get so good that it becomes tennis essentially.
Yeah, I think there's boundaries for everything, but at the end of the day, it's still a wiffle ball, and there's only so much that you can do with it, right?
Yeah.
So, but just food for thought.
Well, there's certainly only so much that I can do with
it. Very limited. Very limited.
So you didn't play singles this past week at Bobby Riggs, mm-hmm. And I've heard that you're not playing singles in LA. Mm-hmm. Why?
So, first of all, I'm not a machine. Many people may think that it's easy, but it's with the pickleball schedule and how the scoring number one works, and also how the day goes by. I don't think people understand how grueling it is on the body, and sometimes after you finish a match you can go on in 5 minutes. It's like very quick, and you can play your next match could be a 3-set match. You can be on the court for an hour and a half, for almost 2 hours, and then 10 minutes later you're back on and you're going through the same thing. So in one day to do that, let alone 3 days in a row at 3 events, It is a lot on someone's body. And in the last 2 months playing, I think this is at Bobby Riggs last week was my 8th week straight of tournaments. To play 3 events in almost everything, I thought, you know what, let me just focus on doubles for this event. I've done fairly well the last few weeks in singles. I've kind of proved myself a little bit. Let me focus on the doubles. Some people were doubting me on that side. Let me make sure my body's 100% for those events and see what I can do. And I was able to, with 2 partners that I'd never played before, I was able to get bronze. So it's just things like that in scheduling and learning your body and learning the tournaments and how you feel. It's just a part of the process of growing and making a schedule that's perfect for me and playing a certain amount of events that I know that I can handle, so that I'm 100% there for myself and my partners. So that's kind of the thought behind all of that.
I think Jared can absolutely relate to that, because occasionally we go to these tournaments and we work a booth and just stand there for 3 days. And Jared ends up on the trainer's table every time, getting rubbed down with CBD, complaining like, oh.
We also played, but yes, I was on the. That's not a lie. I can admit that. So you got bronze with the Net Lord, Susanna Barr, right?
The Net Lord, yes.
And with Alex Newman, who's also another kitchen sponsored player or partner. What does the rest of the year hold for you? Have you even thought about next year? What partners will you be playing with?
Yeah, I'm really excited for partnership in particular with Kyle Yates, the Go. I'm excited about that. We have a good amount of tournaments. I have, mixed is pretty much figured out for me. I have been talking to a few players back and forth to see the possibilities of doing some things together this year, but also talking about next year and trying to, I have my eyes on 2 people, so we'll see how that goes. But
would you like to share who they are?
Well, I've been talking to Zane a little bit. I'm excited about that, to see where that goes, because we played MLP together and I feel like we really gelled and we really meshed, and he's very supportive as a partner on court. And I think for me, personality is a really important thing, because it's almost like a relationship. You have to be able to manage the person, not only their playing style and gel with that, but also the emotion side. And there's a lot of people that, you just don't gel and mesh with, even though they're an amazing player, but you might just not have the chemistry. I think that's the most important thing. And to be able to play week in and week out together and really understanding one another that's why long-time partnerships, they do so well together. So
I think that was our problem actually at MLP when we played that rec game. It was just the chemistry piece. You were too bossy, it just wasn't the right fit.
Oh yeah, it was definitely me. Definitely me. I just didn't take enough of the court is what it was.
That's true. Well, that's cool. And so you mentioned Kyle.
Tell us about MLP. What was that experience?
It was one of the best experiences of my life, and just especially in pickleball, it was the best event that I've ever been a part of. Just them taking care of the players, and Steve Kuhn, how much he really cares about the sport and cares about the players. It's just amazing, and there's a lot of tournaments that we go to that we don't really feel, very taken care of. And I think the sport is so new and there's so many things to learn still from the tournaments and from taking care of the players and everything. I think it's a process, but for MLP to only be in the second year of doing this and do such an amazing job, and it's awesome. And for the prize money to be the biggest purse in pickleball, I mean, they really care about us. And they're really wanting to see the sport evolve and get it to the next level. And there's so many players that pickleball is not their full-time job yet, and they're still doing, their full-time job and playing pickleball. I mean, it's a lot. And all the training and tournaments that we have, for us to be compensated accordingly and appropriately, I think is amazing. And that should be that payout that we got, that should be for us every week, if not more than that. It's we deserve it. We're working our butts off. So
I think it's coming.
I do too. I think it's long term for sure, but it's definitely headed that way. And Duper and MLP and APP and all those guys, they have been a PPA as well. I think the prize money isn't quite there on the PPA side yet, but they're building towards that. And there's a lot of new things happening, and it's really cool to see and kind of be in the middle of everything. So, yeah.
Has PPA reached out? Are they courting you?
I've had some discussions with the PPA guys. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm just keeping my options open. I think that I don't really want to get locked into anything as of now, and just kind of see where the rest of my year takes me. I think the biggest thing for me personally is just the experience of playing a lot of tournaments this year and figuring out what tournaments I liked, what tournaments I didn't like, and then making a schedule for next year and really getting some solid partners, I think is going to be the biggest thing for me. So
Jared's available next year. Just letting you know.
Okay, Jared.
Let's go. I'm starting to train now. Okay, I'm getting my game back.
Model diet, the training schedule, everything.
Amen.
I actually, before, I know we might get off soon, but funny story about the PPA San Clemente tournament. So they gave me a trophy at the end of the day, or not at the end of the day, at the end of my match. And, you know, I had never won a PPA title, so I didn't know what to expect. So they handed me the trophy. You know, I took my pictures with it. They let me have it. My parents were there with me at the tournament. And after I took my pictures with it, I gave it to them to take home. And I was in the locker room about like 15 minutes later after my parents had left. And one of the PPA ladies was like, "Oh, Parris, do you have the trophy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have the trophy. It's on its way home." She's like, "That's for everyone." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" So I was freaking out. I would call my parents. I said, "Can you guys come back with the trophy?" So like, "Okay, yeah, we're on our way back." So then I saw the PPA lady like 10 minutes later and talked to her. I was like, "I'm so sorry." She's like, "You know what? Actually, you can just keep it. It's fine." I was like, "Are you sure? They're on their way back." And she was like, "Yeah, no, just keep it. We want you to have it." I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." So I ended up taking the trophy home, and then all the players were upset the rest of the day. I didn't know. I'm sorry, guys. So I actually,
You know what's so funny? You know what's so funny is that I was watching. Look at Parris. I was watching that feed, and someone won, and they said, "We're trying to track down your trophy." Sorry, I don't have it. There it is.
Here it is.
Yeah. You actually, Parris texted me and said, "I have a funny story," and she sent me a picture of the trophy all strapped into the back seat of the car.
Yes,
It was,
my back seat and seat belted in, so it was safe.
let's see it again.
It's actually really heavy. I was really surprised. So it's definitely heavy.
So not all the players get that. Just
Only
just
one.
Parris.
Only Parris.
Okay, I guess I'm special. I don't know. I'll take it. If they say keep it, I'm keeping it.
But she literally took it.
Is that trophy on the line for lunch game as well?
Oh,
Yeah.
I like
Tattoo,
That's
lunch,
fine.
the trophy,
I mean, the trophy.
and equity and wasted, and equity in the kitchen. We'll do it. That's on the line too.
Sounds good to me. You better start training now.
I am. I played this morning. I think my cheeks are pretty red. I'm ready. We need Jason to start training. Jason, are you training?
Please, please.
Jason has some medal. Jason has some medals behind him.
See this?
What level?
Atlanta. That's Atlanta. What did you guys win in Atlanta? Look at that.
Wow. I can bring out my medals from this weekend and all my medals if you want to see them.
Well, I didn't play this weekend, but I did win a round robin on Sunday. Thank you.
Congratulations. Nice. Was Jared your partner or was someone else?
No, that's why we won.
Stop. We got fourth in Austin.
We did.
Okay. How many teams were it? 5?
No, there's like 28. It was more than that. I think it was 26 or 28.
Yeah, 28 teams.
Yeah, Parris.
Nice.
God.
Awesome. I love it.
I might. How about this? Next tournament we're at together that I play, will you come out and be my coach?
For a fee, I'll send you an invoice later, but you might not know.
Done.
Okay, perfect. Sky's the limit.
Let's go. What else? Any other questions? This is a weird question we asked everyone. What questions do you have for us?
Do you guys have a favorite pro player other than you? I hope you say me, but do you guys have favorite player?
Parris and Ryan, right?
I love it.
I have a lot. I mean, I think I think there's I actually love a majority of the pros that I've met. I think that there's this magical element of approachability of the players at this time, and I don't know if that will continue. But everyone, for the most part, is super cool. They're down to get out on the court and play with people who are, not quite as good. They'll make fun of them, and but I like looking at like the younger players. Like I'm very high on the Wyatts and Hayden and Gabe Tardio. I think is a beast. But yeah, I mean, there's so many, and I've become good friends with a lot of them. And so I don't know if I have a favorite, but I think for the most part, there's a couple that I don't love. I won't name. Those are the ones I track, are the ones I don't love. But for the most part, I love most of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
Jason, who's your favorite besides me?
I said already, Parris and Ryan, easy.
Dynamic duo, love it. I do also want to talk about the carbon situation because I know that you guys had asked me about it.
For
So
sure.
a lot of people have, been asking me on Instagram, why are you playing with the Yola? What are you playing with? You're showing the carbon. First of all, I just have to talk about how my relationship started with Carbon, so one of the first people I started playing pickleball was Garrett Goslin, and he is one of the owners of Carbon. And I started playing with his paddle when I was playing with him, and I actually didn't know that he had owned Carbon. And I'm really glad that when he asked me, oh, how do you like that paddle, that I didn't talk any crap about it. And then I said that I loved it. So just my relationship with him has been absolutely amazing. And he has been so good to me, and he believed in me before I started having some success and victory. So he has been nothing but easy to work with. And the whole Carbon getting banned situation is super unfortunate. And he did not in any way make the paddles illegal or plan for a bad batch to be tested over, because at the end of the day, he is running a business and he really cares about his players. So why would he ever want to put them in that position? Nor would he. So we obviously, when the paddles were banned, I had to talk to him and say, okay, are you gonna, be okay with me trying out a few different paddles? And he said, absolutely, of course, we're here to support you, whatever you need, whatever you feel comfortable with. We'll try and get them, back to the standards as soon as possible. So I started testing out a bunch of different paddles, and I tried the Eula, and I liked it from the get-go. It's hard to switch paddles, and people don't understand that all of the tournaments that I was playing, sometimes in between tournaments, I only have like 1 or 2 days to practice. So especially when I'm traveling. So it's hard in that 1 or 2 day period to adjust to a whole new paddle. And it's more of a mental thing at the end of the day as well, because especially when you've been doing really well with something, you want to stick with it. So I have been, on that in-between stage of, okay, I've only had a few days. Do I really want to start playing with this? So they 100% support me and are behind me. So I'm going to continue to, rep their brand and support their brand and absolutely love them. So that's where I'm at with the whole paddle situation.
So let me ask you this. You're on a streak. I think you've won 4 singles titles in a row. Is that right? Plus MLP in between.
Yes.
Are we waiting for the streak to end and then you can go back to Carbon?
It's never going to end.
Well, okay. All right.
So, but no, we are in the works of me adjusting back to the Carbon paddle. And there's been, a few kinks that we're trying to work through. But ultimately, Garrett, one of the owners of Carbon, he supports me 100%, and he's working with me. So we're just like going through the process and trying to figure it out together and what makes most sense for the both of us. But that's pretty much where we're at with that.
All right. Fair enough. Well, Parris, thank you so much for your time and all the success. We hope that streak never ends.
Me too.
We want to see it continue. Lots of trophies to rack up, and hope you make more room on that mantle, because I think there's a lot more of those to come. Even if you're not allowed to take them, you're going to take them.
I'll have to take those 2 medals behind you and add them to my collection.
Well, we'll play for lunch game. We'll throw it in the kitty.
Okay, well, I'll have medals on the line for that. Some medals and some tattoos.
Let's do it.
I like it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Parris.
Thanks, Parris. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.